Welcome to selfdiscoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest, first-time podcaster, is Carol Remz. And she has written a book that is quite intriguing. She's written a book about sex after menopause, the best sex ever after menopause. And a lot of people think that after menopause, that forget it. We're just never going to have sex again. And one of the oldest people I've interviewed here, she was 92 and took a new lover at 90. So it's never, ever over. It's just a question we have to adjust and do things a little differently. So we're going to be talking about why she wrote that book today, and why it was so important to her. And her motivation, she's almost 80, hitting the milestone this Christmas Eve. And she wrote a book about the best sex ever after menopause at a time in the zeist, stressing, and the urgency of women to stand up, unite, and take their power back. Carol isn't pulling any punches. Because menopause hit early to mid 40s, causing a lot of libido, vaginal dryness, and over the next 10 years, and her being married to 7 years younger husband who would accept her declaration that sex wasn't supposed to matter after menopause. This was her motivation to write the book. So in writing the book, she tells a story how she healed and changed. And before she could raise any objections, he added, get help. That came from the medical and health writer intimacy coach, Molly Carter. With the decision to write the book, Carol realized that she was launching an encore career. Mark Freeland, an author and social entrepreneur, pluralized the concept. It means continuing to work in a way of the second half of one's life. Financial reasons can be an incentive. Carol chose applying her acquired skills and experience to a positive social impact. What are they? 10 years as a teacher after receiving her BS in 1966 and MAT, Masters of Arts Teaching, in 1967. And after 35 years of receiving a PhD in education technology from the Catholic University, forming her own business and led her clients' employees to the Fortune 500 companies. And so all background has been quite diverse, but from there to learning about what needed to be heard about healing through this book, it's something that we need to do. And an awful lot of people don't want to talk about this subject. It's like, oh, no, 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 no. And even women don't want to talk about it with each other. And it's like, get over yourself. This is a fact of life. This is what happens to every single woman down the road. And it's not something that people have to suffer for. It doesn't mean it's all over. It just means that you have to adjust and do things differently. And a great deal of that is the approach that we take to it, isn't it, Carol? Welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm so excited because you are my very first interview.
Yes, which is so exciting. I love the Virgin podcasters, as I put it. So,
I'm very much a virgin in this situation.
so we can be a virgin again.
Yeah.
So it has a great deal to do with attitude, isn't it? Like we're going to get challenged physically when we're growing up. First we get a period, we have to adjust to the periods every month, and then of course when we have babies, adjusting to all of that, and then we hit the menopause and adjusting to hot flashes and everything else, and then it's just an adjustment post menopause, isn't it? But there does seem to be something like a stigma or a taboo to talk about it. So what made you want to write about this?
Because my marriage was really threatened.
Mm,
When you marry a person who's 7 years younger, who's 33 when I was 39, it makes a great deal of difference when all of a sudden, I had no interest in sex.
yeah.
And when we did, it was very painful. Now, it
Hmm.
didn't happen right away. But as it kept growing and there weren't any ways, I didn't know what to do to solve the problem.
Hmm.
Only today, in the last maybe 6 months, maybe a year, we're having celebrities, actresses come out and talk about menopause. which was
Yes.
a taboo subject. Whoever
Right.
talked about that? And so, which has opened up amazing opportunities for women to really be honest about what's happening to them. So, talk about sex after menopause.
Hmm.
The few books that I have found are kind of, in a way, I was telling this to somebody today, more like for other things for geriatric people, how to help you with eating the right food and getting enough rest. And instead of where's the wonderful things that can happen to you after menopause, where you can have just the same erotic, arousing, fabulous orgasms that you can have when you are much younger. And in many ways, based upon our aging and our wisdom and accepting life's ups and downs, it can be a very transformational experience, far more wonderful than it was when we were a lot younger.
But
I
we're a
think it's
lot
more
longer. I think we were
fun.
kind of driven by sex, aren't we? Kind of it's sex, sex, sex. It's kind of the act and the euphoria moment. And I think when you get older, it's um it's the pre-sex. It's the anticipation and the
Yeah.
length of it, and it's that look across the room. All of that type of thing. It's all about not just jumping into bed and having sex. It's about making love before you have sex.
Absolutely. You just said it perfectly. Because when we are older and we do slow down, we are seeing more of life
Hmm.
and we're appreciating more of those moments of life that come. It's terrific to be young and highly energetic. But I love the way I'm feeling now because I have
Hmm.
much more calm and patience and
Hmm.
presence in my life. And you're right, that look across the room
Hmm.
and to savor, it's like eating a meal.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
eat it fast, savor every bite.
yes, exactly. Which I think is, I've just turned 70, so you get to that stage of life where you're much more selective. Selective of
Mhm.
who's around you, selective of even the foods you eat, selective of what you watch, just selective because we can.
That's
And
right.
and it's a beautiful place to be because I've only got so much energy to share, and I'm just not going to waste that energy on something that is negative or static or just not going to serve me back. So in that selection, I think we do begin to savor things a great deal more.
Yes, and interrupted. I just looked where I'm placed right now in my living room. We have a hummingbird feeder.
I
And
got
we
them right
just
out of
saw
here.
two hummingbirds, you too, Sarah,
Yes, yes,
at the
yeah.
same time. And I think of that as being a very spiritual
Yeah,
message and really
yes.
what to
And
think.
and I've got a hummingbird feeder right out my
Oh, there
window
you
here too.
go.
So yes, and they're
But
always there,
what
which I
you
love.
just said was just so important. You slow down and you
Mm,
see things and you savor things and you let them unfold.
hmm.
And we're not as impatient. Actually,
Right.
we have to have patience because we know that our time span is a whole lot shorter.
Yes. Yeah. So why waste time on things that,
Well,
do not
that are
serve us
not,
anymore? Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And like when we're younger, and of course, very often we're having sex to have children. And then when you're having children, when do you have time to have sex? All of that type of thing that happens. And then, very often relationships get kind of strained because children are there or business or this or that, and we kind of forget to place importance upon relationships, intimacy. And the intimacy isn't just under, in between the sheets. It's that intimacy of that touching the hand, watching a movie together, holding hands, look at each other, just that snuggling that can lead to whatever or not. It just can be those intimate moments. And I think one of the things that I see. Maybe I'm just, showing my age. I am not seeing much intimacy being portrayed in our movies, in our TV shows, and I think it's sending the wrong message to the young people, right?
Yeah, and nothing disturbs me more when I see the sex scene in a lot of movies
Yeah.
where essentially he is plowing his penis into
Yes.
her vagina and pumping away. And if there are noises coming, I have no idea. It might be from pain. That is not sexual
No.
pleasure for
No.
me.
No.
That is not it at all. And the movies continue to do it.
I know.
It's just very disheartening. It's very disheartening.
Yeah.
And that gets into the psyche of us who watch the movie.
Hmm.
And yeah, so we agree on this. I have a feeling we're going to be agreeing on 98.8% there. Um,
We
Yeah.
are seeing, like, with Jane Fonda, with
Mhm.
Frankie and oh gosh,
Yes,
the two,
yes, yes.
they all
They
come
did a
to me.
wonderful series on sex toys.
Yes, it was sex toys, and then obviously her falling in love with a younger man, and then
Yes,
can I keep up with it? And she, wonderful
right,
scene where she takes off her eyelashes and the hair
right. And just
extensions and
shows
the this
herself
and
for
that,
who she is.
and then
Right,
like this is who I really am. And he says, "But I
right,
love you
exactly.
anyway," And then that's the thing is that again, I think a lot of women, especially if they're single, as they get older, think, well, those days are over. I don't have anybody in my life. Well, you don't necessarily have to have someone in your life. It is nice for you to have that, but there is self-satisfaction that you can still have in
Absolutely.
your life. And and this isn't like, ooh, ooh, grandma's doing that. No, it's like we're still women. We still
Well,
long to be touched or felt or have that orgasm.
right. And that's the other thing. I don't think that women, we're so critical of our bodies, that I
Yes.
don't think we have to start with, and I always say when you're taking, for example, cannabis, and you begin to be very present and very sensitive to touch, that
Hmm.
if you want to touch the inside of your wrist, hold one hand out, take the other hand, touch the inside of your wrist, and feel what it feels like to
Mm.
delicately touch yourself.
Exactly.
We have to
Exactly.
be in touch with our bodies,
Yeah.
what we smell, what we see, what we feel. That doesn't go away. And so I'm a big promoter. In fact, I believe truthfully, we must first know what pleasure means to us and feels like for us. And that means masturbation.
Hmm. Hmm.
That means playing with ourselves, touching with ourselves, and using sex toys.
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly.
And once
Exactly.
you know how you please yourself, then you know what it's like to sit down with somebody else or talk with somebody else or with your lover or with your spouse and say, this feels good to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't really like that. But not offending the person who's trying to love you by just saying, no, sweetie, not that spot,
Yeah.
Not get so
Exactly.
serious about it either.
Hmm.
If you have what I consider the ingredients of love, and I have 36 states of being for that, like trust, honesty, compassion, kindness, with a partner who you're going to get into bed with, or maybe more than one partner, you've got to have those ingredients. If you don't, you can still have sex, you may still have orgasms, but I'm looking for a different kind of sexual pleasure.
Yes. Exactly. If there's the fornication and there's the making love.
That's
All
right.
right. And for me, far rather make love. I want all of my senses to be aroused.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that again, that comes into um the foreplay before you get there, because then all of the senses are absolutely aroused. And then when you do actually get to the intimacy, it's something that is the cherry on top, so to speak. Right. So and for single women, a lot of people, well, I don't know how to masturbate. Well, I would tell you that you can actually imagine yourself being made love to as well.
Yes, yes,
Exactly.
bravo for that.
And in that imagination of all the things that you desire, I guarantee you will orgasm through that, because you are waking up all of your senses. Immerse
Right.
yourself in that imagination if the actor isn't somebody out there. I know for my generation, it was a great deal of misogyny back in the day, and it's not so prevalent in certain places.
Gotten a lot
But
better.
when coming to meet somebody, for me, it is about I want to be made love to spiritually, intellectually, vibrationally before physically, because that's where my physical gets turned on. And unfortunately, kind of meeting people in my age bracket, there's still that kind of misogynistic type thing where it's, the wang bang, sex first. And so I think a lot of women are drawn more to the self-satisfaction because they just don't want to put up with that.
Yeah. And imagination, it really is the key.
Oh, yeah.
And fantasies and having
Hmm.
fantasies. I kid, somebody one time met with me and said, well, how many affairs have you had? And I said, oh my God. And I started to think, and really what it was that I would meet an attractive man who met my criteria,
Hmm.
with the kindness and the consideration and the charm and the unique personality and all those. And I also found them physically attractive, and everybody's going to have different
Yes.
criteria for what they're physically attracted to. Mostly for me, it's the personality.
Yes.
It's the
Yes.
personality, the person's energy. And I would have affairs with, I would have making love with them in my dreams, in
Yes.
my bed, with my
Yes.
husband sleeping next to me sometimes. So what?
Exactly.
And it
Exactly.
usually then it
You're not
died out. I mean,
cheating, right?
yeah,
You're just fantasizing.
why
Yeah.
not?
Hmm.
Why not? So for single women, and it's true, they have to really want it.
Hmm.
And there was the movie, The Shape of Water. Was that the name?
Yes. Yeah.
In that movie, she masturbates every single day in the morning in the hot in her tub. Do you remember that?
Mm. Yes.
And
Yes.
then when she sees this monster, scaly giant monster, who you would think, how could you possibly be attracted to that? She is. And the scenes of them together, just
Hmm.
holding each other and being with each other, are very erotic. And
Uh,
so that always made me think about the importance of, again, she was getting in touch with who she is and all aspects of who she is. And our sexuality is one of our natural, God-given qualities of life, of being.
yes.
And so getting in touch with that is really pretty wonderful.
It's also what you're sending out, right? So
Oh,
if you're sending out, I need a man to love me because I feel insecure in myself and I don't care what he does, then that's what you're going to attract. But if it is, I'm a self-assured woman, I can pleasure myself, but if I choose you, it has to be we're on the same frequency. We're on the same good vibrations. It's about that energy meeting and linking and forming a connection that then transcends into whatever it needs to transcend into. And I think the more assured we are, the more comfortable we are with ourselves and sending out that vibration. It's not, it's not going to hit the people on the lower level. It's going to hit the people that have already risen up in their own lives into a higher frequency. And that's where you want to meet.
I also want to point out that I honor women's choices about that.
Hmm.
Um, I have some women friends, a few who've never married or did marry, and the marriage was a long time ago, or have chose not to date anymore after a marriage, and they're very comfortable with that choice. So one of the things I really want to make clear is that I'm not pushing this universally, and I'm not saying
Hmm.
that because I had this experience, or Sarah, obviously you had the same experience,
Hmm.
that that's right for everybody. I
Right.
believe one of the most beautiful things about a democracy, if we can
Yes.
sustain it, is choice,
Yes.
that you can choose to abstain and have no interest in that. You can live a life without having sexual pleasure, a
Hmm.
very fulfilling life. Um, and what I don't want to see is young women at a very young age get into this negative story and lies about our sexuality
Yeah.
and what gives us that power for that. And then what would happen to us is we get to be quote unquote old women
Yeah.
post-menopause, no longer having periods, no longer having children, because that is a lie. So
Hmm.
what I want to reinforce to you, just because you've gone through hell and back with menopause, okay, perimenopause, really.
Hmm.
Don't think that this other kind of life that you had is going to be not available to you. And in fact, I believe it's going to be 100% better.
Yes.
But you have the
Because
wisdom, you
you have
have
the
the life
wisdom,
experiences,
you have the selectiveness,
the
right?
selectiveness, right?
Hmm. And also, you're not worried about getting pregnant.
That was just tremendous.
Yes.
It's wonderful. It's
Yes.
great. And not having periods anymore, which is a
Right.
pain in the rear end.
Hmm.
That's right.
So, like,
All that
it
is
is
so much
purely for pleasure.
possibility.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly, which is wonderful. Some years ago, I interviewed this wonderful woman who at 70 decided she hadn't had sex in 10 years. And she went to the doctor and said, how do I get my libido back? And he said, well, I'm going to increase your estrogen or whatever. But he said, watch porn. And so it was not on, the computer at that time. So she would go off to porn shops and pick up videos. And she said, just to get her arousal back, to get her stimulation back, to self-pleasure herself so that when she was out there, she kind of could project that sensuality. And for me,
Yes.
sensuality before sexuality is important because
Yes,
the
absolutely.
sensuality is you're in your senses, you can feel everything. That's what you're setting out. Sexuality is just based on sex, having sex without any of those wonderful senses in there. And she kind of rediscovered a whole new sex life. And sometimes we do need to, after menopause, do things because we do have vaginal dryness, or we do, maybe the
Right.
libido has gone down, and we do need to stimulate that in order for it to kind of be ready for pleasure again.
And that's why I talk about the solutions that I found to help me with vaginal dryness. And the solution that I found just for me to take me to that place where all I was concentrating on were my sensory experiences, which
Mm-hmm.
is the cannabis. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's also important, um, because we will need to do things to heal our body
Yes.
after when we are in a state of menopause,
Mm-hmm.
after we no longer have periods. And that's the reality. Vaginal dryness will be a reality.
Yeah.
Low libido will be a reality. Now, not for everybody. I'm only speaking for myself.
Well, I would say for a majority,
For a
there's a
majority of women,
majority. Yeah.
a majority of women. So, and also our mindset,
Mm-hmm.
because we've gone through perimenopause. It's been painful and stressful and all the other things and conditions and experiences you can have. And so now that we've got a brand new brain, we get three
Mm-hmm.
things in our life is human beings, all human beings will get a new brain after puberty. Women who are pregnant will have a new brain. And women after menopause will have a new brain. And with our new brain, since the brain is our command central, am I saying that right? For everything, then we have to deal with our brain in terms
Yes.
of this new life that we
New
want
mindset.
now that we're
Mm-hmm.
post-menopause. And that means our mindset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are we believing and thinking and then doing based upon those beliefs? Are we denying ourselves sexual pleasure because we don't feel it? But now that I'm hoping to say to people, you may not feel it now. If you had it and you want it, and maybe you didn't have it before, you can still have it if you want it.
Yes.
Here's how you can change your mindset because of the power of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you can
Mm-hmm.
also deal with there are pharmaceuticals out there, and there are also natural plants out there that can help us with our vaginal dryness. That's the reality of our physical being. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to happen to most women. So that's the other thing I think is really important. Let's be frank about what these situations have to be dealt with. And what I'm hoping is that I'm giving women some opportunities for that. Now, I'm not the only one. Many of the actresses and celebrities who are talking about that are also coming up with, a look at what you eat, very important.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There are possibilities for hormones. I lived through that time when we had this scare about hormones were going to cause us cancer. Well, I got
Yeah.
cancer anyway and never took hormones.
Mm.
Research studies that were bogus. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
average age was 63, women well past menopause. So all of that now is history. The good news is there's very valid information and science out there that we can take advantage of if we're post-menopause, about getting our bodies in the healthiest state as can be, and then recapturing, and in a much better way, sexual pleasure.
Right. Mindset first, right?
Mindset first,
Because,
absolutely.
I always say that the soul, the heart, and the spirit has an intellect all of its own.
Right.
But if our mind gets in the way, we can't hear the other intellects. And so our mindset has to be, okay, I am willing to seek a different solution. I'm willing to open my mind as to what is possible. And then, the soul wisdom, the heart generator of love, and then the spirit action will open our minds to the clarity it needs to know when it needs to know it, because it will always lead us to the right answer. The head can get in the way. So the head needs to say, okay, I want to seek something different. I know there is a solution. What am I willing to do? Which means I now must listen, learn, and apply. Right? Keep trying different things until you find that right application. But listen to podcasts, read books, um, talk to other women who have gone through it. Don't be so scared to talk about it because you think it's a taboo subject. Ask questions.
Yeah, and I want to go a little bit back to the mind again. I happen to think that the source of our spirituality is also in our mind, our brain.
If we decide it to be, the choice to
Yeah,
be.
absolutely. And I think that one of the ways that we can get it um, is bringing back the awe into our life.
Mm,
Sometimes when I talk to women who seem kind of discouraged, I'll say, what gives you absolute like, oh my God, I saw this flower, or I ate this meal, or I read this book and I was so moved, I was crying, or
mhm.
what made you emotional? What
Yeah.
touched you? Oh, our brain is doing that. And we have to pay attention to that. I don't think it's all intellect and doing this and doing that. I personally think that our brain, if I believe it is the command central for our whole body, is also the brain that opens up our heart, our emotions, our feeling, that when we see something and we're so moved, we just feel it right here, or we get
Yeah.
all over our body, we get shivers, or all of a sudden we don't, for no reason, we can't say why the tears have come down our face. So I just think that it is the mind and not an intellectual way. Just open up
Yes.
the power of
Yeah.
looking at everything and seeing its beauty, its goodness, its what moves you, a painting, one kind act
Yes.
that somebody did for you, and it kind of stop and say, that was so nice. And when you say to yourself, that was so nice of that person to do this,
Mm,
see how you feel, how you
yeah.
feel,
Yes.
and
And
be
I call
in
that
touch with that.
feeling the knowledge, not thinking the knowledge,
Exactly.
right?
Oh,
Because
no.
when you feel it, then you resonate with all of your other senses. Um, and that's when that knowledge actually gives you clarity because you're feeling it. It's not just a thought. A thought can be dissected and could be, but what if, or looking at different ways. When you actually feel that knowledge, it actually means something to you. And it does resonate throughout the rest of the body because the rest of the body is in agreement with how you feel or in acknowledgement of how you are feeling. And I think that's if we paid more attention and we weren't so afraid of feeling, a lot of people have shut down that feeling because they're afraid of being hurt or they're afraid of this and that. But that's what life is about. It's about feeling the essence and the exuberance and the joy, even the pain of life, right? It is about feeling it. And if we stop feeling, we stop living.
And also about being present.
Hmm.
This moment in time is just you and me on this call.
Yeah.
And I have to be present to you. Okay. I may occasionally look to my right because I have a view of the water where I live. I may look at the bookcases behind you, but I have to be present. And when I talk to somebody, and certainly when I'm in an intimate situation, I want to be present to that person,
Yes.
present to my lover.
Mhm.
And so I think that is so important, that we have to be present. And when we're much more, unfortunately, present to our pain and suffering
Yes.
and our
Yes.
anxieties. And I have to agree, what's going on right now politically
Yes. Oh, yes.
and the wars that we have. And
Hmm.
so when I'm thinking about a war which is very far away, which may impact me in some ways, but it's still not my daily life, that's consuming my emotions and my brain.
Yeah.
So we have to step back and say, okay, I can't do anything about that, but I can look at my life now, which I have control over.
Hmm.
Privilege to have control over our life, that I can write a book, I can print it, and I can get an interview with you. That's not
Exactly.
insignificant. In some
Right.
countries, I couldn't do that. And talk
Hmm.
about sex after menopause. I wouldn't be
Exactly.
able to
Talk
do
about
that.
sex at all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so to be present to that, then we'll get in touch with what are we grateful for? What gives
Hmm.
us joy? What gives us love? What gives us happiness? And then, that I can look to my right and see the water because I live close, I live on the water, close to in Puget Sound, you know. Um,
And water is such a conduit.
oh, it's
It's
such a con.
such a beautiful energy
Yeah.
conduit
I
and
mean,
so
all
so
those
cleansing
things.
and clearing. Hmm.
So that changes when we are present and we focus more. And I have a hard time doing this, Sarah. I can get into, oh my God, the world's coming to an end.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
What,
yes.
what am I going to do? I have no control over it. So I have to constantly be reminded because I can get very paranoid.
Hmm.
Calm down. Okay. My husband does this for me. Okay. My son. my grandson and my daughter-in-law and my
Hmm.
good friends. Okay, Carol, stop. Stop thinking about all the disastrous things that can happen. Because right now, I'm here. I had breakfast this morning. I was able to go to the bathroom okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we forget. I mean, people do blessings on their meal. I never did that growing up. But I've been to some of my friends' home where they bless the food that they ate every evening.
Hmm.
And I again, I just think that we have to do, and I fight to do it myself. Just don't think that I do it. I don't. I have to
Hmm.
be reminded too.
Yes.
I could come up with all kinds of reasons why I'm really terrified about this book coming out. Because
Hmm.
who's going to think that of what this of me, right?
Yes.
And then I made the decision that, you know what? I'm at the end of my life. And I think I can offer a lot of women who are a lot like me. I'm not famous. I'm not, and I talk about imperfection. We're all imperfect, you know.
Hmm.
And if I had this happen to me, then certainly I can help it happen and encourage other women for that possibility.
And that's the gift. That is the gift. I've just done another show this morning with a book I'm involved with, where there was 262 women in this book.
Mm,
Each one of us considered, kind of a small chapter, but it was all about sharing the passion and the wisdom and the love and etc. And they were recently at the Emmys with this book. And
mm,
I've interviewed about 46 people that are in the book, but it's not just the I'm in the book. It's
yeah.
what the book has represented because it's opened up a mission of women coming together as a
Mhm.
sisterhood and
Yeah.
being able to talk and share their vulnerability and be supportive of one another. No condemning, no criticism, no
Right.
competing, but just that sisterhood. And I think by having shows like this and other people being go, have you heard that show? I'm always encouraging people, have a podcast party. Listen to the podcast together, take notes, and then share what each of you
Great
got
idea.
out of it
Yeah.
afterwards. It breaks the ice, it opens up the conversation.
Mhm.
You're learning different perspectives from different people, which gives you a rounder picture. But we're so scared to talk about certain subjects because taboo, we don't talk about that. Why not? Because if we don't talk about it, how do we find the solutions? How do we know what the problem? People start taking on, well, it must be my problem. I must be doing something wrong. No, it's just nobody's told you how to take care of vaginal dryness, how to lift your libido up, how to even feel that you're still worthy of being loved and making love, right? There's so many things there, and if we don't talk about it, we don't step up and become it.
Well, we also have this thing about shame.
Yes,
You know, we're
big on that, aren't we? As a
people
human
will
race.
shame, again, we'll grow up and maybe our religion shames us for what
Yes. Hmm.
we're embarrassed. And I think the other thing that happens, Sarah, when we get to our respective ages is I don't have enough time to waste on that anymore. My
Exactly.
days are going by fast.
I
I have to
don't
be
want to waste it.
realistic.
Hmm.
I ain't going to waste it. I
No,
don't want to go back. I
no,
don't want to live forever.
no.
I'm not envious of
Hmm.
somebody who's much younger than me because if I did that, I'd have to give up with the life that I had up to now.
Exactly.
You can't do that.
No.
All you can do, my husband has a wonderful mantra. Now that this has happened, what's possible that we didn't see before?
Mm.
So whenever we've gotten into those situations, that's what he says. And invariably, I find out that sometimes those disasters, which have been reinforced by many other people, one of them I remember I read a story about there was a horrible, a man could not get to his home on the top of a mountain in Colorado. And he was so upset because his wife was trying to get him there. It turned out it was glad that he didn't get there because there was some kind of horrible thing and people died because of a snowstorm.
Mm.
His wife survived. But we
Mhm.
think sometimes when something disastrous happened, I've been fired,
Yes.
I have cancer.
Hmm.
And we'll talk about the death of a loved one, which is another one we have to live with.
Yes.
When things happen to us that are negative and can be very painful and very seriously detrimental, that our life is over. No, it's something that has happened. And yes, don't discount the pain or suffering that you have to go through. And I would hope then, if you get through that, and as many psychologists say, you have to feel the pain before you can get through it. You can't make it go away. You cannot
But
make
you
it
you
go
said a magic word, through.
through. And that's exactly
That's you have to go through it.
the
There
woman who
is
wrote
no
about
avoiding it.
for spousal abuse in the military,
Mm,
who have been raped,
hmm
have to get through that. I write about the experience of one of my friends that she shared with me, and I have it in the book. You have to feel it and get through it. And then what are the opportunities for you?
And
Um,
become more than what happened to you.
More than what happened to you.
Yeah.
Said perfectly right. More than what happened to you. Um, so, um, so the way in which, so I think you understand how I got to this book.
hmm
And I try to be very clear about it, where my skills ended and sort of began. And one of the reasons why I wrote the book, and it took me 8 years to do that, because I healed over that period of time. And
hmm
then Larry said to me, so write the book about the way you healed. And I went, I haven't written books like this.
Yeah.
He said, get help. And I put out an ad in for a website that's here in Seattle area that is a writer, and she wants to help people looking for writers get writers without going on an intermediary who's going to get a lot of money for that. It's simply an
Exactly.
exchange of, okay, I'm a writer, I need help for this. Here's the writer. We'll work out our own situation. And miraculously, and I put that what I wanted in the book and how she responded, I got Molly Carter, who was a medical health writer, but also an intimacy coach.
Mm.
Although I had thought I had healed and changed, and Larry and I were having wonderful sexual pleasure, her coming into my life opened up another opportunity. And
Uh-huh.
she writes the portion in the book about what I call body know-how. We don't get good sex education.
Oh,
We may learn about our
zero.
periods in school. I learned about it in sixth grade. And one of the parents of my club, I was a scout, I was a campfire girl.
hmm
One of the parents of the other camp of a campfire girl in my group was shocked, and she wasn't going to send her daughter for the little lesson about periods. And my mother was kind of like, really? I was gonna, and of course, I got my period at 12 when I started seventh grade. So we just don't get a good sex education. We don't talk about our genitalia. We
No.
don't talk about what an orgasm is, or what feelings we can have if we even have an orgasm. And
Mm.
your orgasm may be different than mine, and doesn't, again, all these things. Where do we learn about this? Where do we learn about it? So I figured, we're not too old to learn.
No,
So
never too old.
and then also, I found it to really helpful. I had never been around another woman who had been so knowledgeable about her own sexuality. And so it was very natural for me to say, Molly, help
Yes.
us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And of course, I am married to a wonderful man who said, help make me a better lover, although he's a pretty good lover. I mean, more than pretty good, he's wonderful. Because loving is and sexual pleasure is giving, and it is
hmm Yes. Yeah.
and it's also sometimes kind of wacko. Sometimes it doesn't quite work out. Sometimes the disappointments or whatever. Um, and so having her come in and at that point was really very powerful. So I want to make it very clear. We agreed very much. We were sort of co-writers, but her explanations was just are wonderful. Um, and I got educated and I really learned things there maybe have been other sources, but she for me was that personal source.
Right. That person that clicked. And that's the way it is. There's somebody that you really feel that they're speaking to you, and about what you need to hear. And so there's that click there. And this is what these shows are about. This is what your book is about. Maybe not everybody that reads it, it's going to click with, but it's going to click with certain people. Ah, ah, ah.
Exactly.
And that's, all we can do is put things out there. How they're
Exactly.
received and what happens to them after that is out of our hands completely. But it's just putting it out there to give people the option of another choice. And I put this show instead of under an author's kiss, under choose positive living, because to choose to still have a sensual sexual life is a choice. It's it's how we want to live positively. Right. And what are we going to do about it? And I think, probably more up into the 90 percentile would be women who just don't know what to do after menopause.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's, maybe their husbands are going, but why aren't you into it anymore? And then the woman feels guilty. Or, the woman is divorced and it's like, who do you meet? After my menopause, which I had at 50, I then met a great lover. very bad person for me in my life, but a great lover, which I needed to have after
Yeah,
my marriage. And
exactly.
it reminded me that, that I am a very sensual person. Um, and I needed that at that stage in my life. And, now I'm not doing any dating or anything right now. I've got two grandsons, they've got my heart. So, but again, that's a choice. I don't want to see people not going out and putting themselves out there to meet someone because they're scared. I've had menopause. Will I be able to do it? My libido is down and the vagina's dry, or maybe I have some physical ailments, and will I be even able to enjoy sex because of that? And there's so many will I's that they're not exploring the options of, well, if you do this and you do that and you do this, then there's chances of you having a great experience. But if they don't know what to do, how are they going to even want to have the great experience?
You just gave me an incredible inspiration when you talked about finding the men. I do talk about men who are senior men who have prostate issues
Mhm,
because my husband does.
mhm.
He's 73. And that's not unusual. Men have aging issues as well. But what you just inspired me was all these dating services. I would love to see my book part of that for the
Yes,
senior women.
yes,
Now, they're
yes.
for the senior women and the senior men, you know, to help them when they're trying to listen. I may lose Larry, he could
Mhm.
lose me.
Yeah,
We could maybe get divorced. Who knows what? You never know what's going to happen in life.
no,
And I would want to still have companionship. That would
yes.
maybe, I'm saying that now because of what I have. I may not feel that way. But if I do, and I want to go to one, and I can't find somebody to fix me up on a
Mm,
date, um, then I would want to go to, and I have no problem with those services.
yeah.
But maybe they should be asking questions or helping people to write down what is it you're really looking for?
Hmm.
You like somebody who is romantic, who has had good sexual relations with a spouse or with a lover, or maybe it was that one woman he met in his youth in Paris,
Yeah.
and got married and had kids, but always wanted to remember.
Hmm.
Martha Stewart has a wonderful documentary that I've seen on Netflix. I think she's an incredible woman. And she talks about as a young woman going into, I think it was the church. And she and this other young man were so moved together that they kissed, or he approached her and kissed. She was
Hmm.
talking about it on her documentary. So we can have that, that there was a man in your past or a woman in
Yeah.
your past, something about her personality or his personality or his background. And now you are not engaged or married or anything like that. And let that be, you sit down and write what it is you want.
Yeah.
And, and
Yeah.
and say, and maybe you have a checklist, like maybe you use my checklist for love. Does
Hmm.
this person demonstrate to you all those states of being? Is he kind? Has integrity? You can trust him. When you're with him, do you both together feel awe? Do you both forgive or feel that you're changed in your relationship? Is there transformation? Is there joy? Is there laughter?
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
there's a
Laughter
certain
is very
way.
important to have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If somebody is just really somber all the time, I don't want to hang around with that person.
No.
So make your list, make your
Mm-hmm.
criterion list of what love means to you,
Hmm.
and think about now read a romantic or sexy novel and
Hmm.
the description of the couple in that romance novel, and read what arouses you, and would you like to have somebody do that for you? So talk about what makes you feel your sexual pleasure, makes you arouse, makes your feminine parts
Yes.
moving.
Come
Okay.
alive. Come
I'm
alive.
alive. So my idea is that maybe I can convince some of those websites out there to say, take a look at Carol Ramsey's book, because
Yeah.
she's a senior, very much a senior.
You
And
actually should be sending it off to the Golden Bachelor and Bachelorette
yes,
series.
oh, I love that. Yes, yes,
That program
yes,
has actually really taken off amongst not just,
yes.
elderly people, but younger people as incredible example because, all the men became best friends. they're all competing for one woman, but they've just enjoyed so much the company of each other because they appreciated it. And then, showing how you can fall in love after 60, how you can be
Right.
sensual, how you can still got so much life in you to live and you just want to share it with somebody. And for so many people, I put out a book this year called Our Forgotten Children, which is an anthology on the system that is wrong raising our children. But the next book is Our Forgotten Senior.
Mm,
And it's very much about like just because we are of a certain age, do not put us out to pasture. We've got so much still in us to live, to share, to do, to contribute, and it's don't shut us off because we're at that stage and age now where we
right.
really can be golden and really enjoy life in an exuberance that is so very different from any other age time.
There was one thing about that program. I've only watched it, I think, twice, but the last time I watched it, there was the happy ending wedding, and then the couple broke up.
Oh, no, it was the young one.
Um, it, it- well,
It- uh,
she was over 60. He was
okay.
very tall, he was a Midwesterner, and I followed it through. There was a wedding, and and it seemed like they were very compatible. And they broke up they separated from their marriage, not
Oh,
with
I didn't hear that actually. I
yeah, not
didn't.
with any animosity. But here's
Right.
what occurred to me, and I go back to again, really what you want. When you decide to have a relationship as a senior,
Hmm.
you have children, grown children or
Yes.
not. You have
Hmm.
grandchildren or not. You have a live in a certain place, and perhaps the person that you meet is a very different place. You have your home.
Yes.
They may or may not. There are other issues that come into play.
Right. Yeah.
So, and the reason why, just again, the questions that you asked, Sarah, just really like my brain goes, oh, that's so good. You got to go back and talk about that. So, because you talked about that program, and I think I watched it twice. I know for sure I watched that program, and I was really quite sad
Hmm.
that they decided to dissolve their relationship. And I'm kind of not surprised too. I believe that one of them had a lot of children.
Yes.
And there was a physical difference, and they had both set up lovely homes where they lived. So there was that separation. So I think that but again, that's a plus for us because
Hmm.
we're not going to compromise at this age.
Right. I've just recently moved to this
Yeah,
city where my daughter and my grandchildren are because I wanted to be close to the
exactly.
grandchildren. 2 days a week I have them. I have them a
Right,
great deal. In fact, they're over for dinner tonight.
right,
So it's very, very important. So if I do meet anybody, I
right.
want somebody in the proximity. You've got yours, I've got mine. It'd be nice if we have an ours.
That's right.
But you've got to understand that this relationship isn't all about you or even all about me. It's about us.
Yeah,
And the
absolutely.
us has to be incorporated in there because it's not meeting as young couples and then having your family. It's we've had our family, this is our family, we're invested in our family, and we'd like you to be a part of it, but you can't take me away from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that again affects our age. I mean, these are the things I write about. I made very different choices when I got married at 39 than I
Mm-hmm.
did when I got married at 21.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything should happen to Larry, whether or not I seek another relationship, I will have the same choices, unless
Yes.
we're both in a retirement community.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is, you have to look at your life. And again, I think when we reach a level of maturity, those things can make, because we consider them and they're not the end of the world. And we're really clear about where our priorities are. Like, I want to be close to my grandson as much.
Yes.
I only got one. I only have
I've got
one.
two babies. Yeah.
And you got, yeah. And
Yeah.
wherever he goes with his love, and he has a
Uh-huh.
wonderful girlfriend right now, whatever, I want to be there. I want to be as close to that as possible, not intruding on his life. So we'll make choices again.
Yes.
So it always gets down to what, and I write this, the last chapter of the title is what you period want.
Mm.
We, each individual has to decide what we want. And again, we're so blessed to have so many options and opportunities to have that kind of a life.
Yeah.
And because that's what I felt when I had my and waking up. And the other thing you talked about, and I want to talk about is energy when you meet
Mm-hmm.
someone. I just that's so important how you can be with a group of people and you just don't feel comfortable.
Exactly. Not the right vibe, not the right frequency. Yeah.
Right. And then with men too, you can meet with a man, and again, I would put this down, and it just feels right.
Yes.
I believe that we gain an awareness of our
Hmm.
energy and how we feel. And it's really an energy. I'm still learning about quantum physics. So I'm going to put that out there because it talks about right now, all of us are really all blended together. And somehow it's
Yes.
static state. But energy is a pretty wonderful thing. And if we can get in touch with that, we'll also be able to sense who we want to spend our time with. As you said, our time is precious. You don't want to
Exactly.
be around people who don't add value to your life.
Right.
And
Yeah.
energy is so important.
It is, it's, like always quote about raising our consciousness. It's to a higher frequency, a higher
Exactly,
level. And,
exactly.
when
Right.
you're at that higher level of that love frequency, you can't knowingly do harm to anyone else because to do so would to harm yourself.
Mm.
So it is about that consciousness of really it is about sharing the love, but it's also being selective. We can share the love out to the world and the universe. We can share that love out to everyone, white light to all those that are suffering and struggling. That's a different form of love, but that intimate love that we want to share is at a certain frequency that we need to have it matched. And if it isn't matched, then it's not
Right.
complementary. And it's like we're not at the stage in our lives where we want someone to complete us. We want
Yeah,
somebody
right.
that complements us, right? We want to complement each other.
Mhm.
And so it's not about completing. I don't need to be completed. I've done that myself.
That line.
I need somebody that complements who
Right.
I am and
Yeah.
accepts who I am because I ain't changing for anyone. Been there, done that. Bent myself into a pretzel to try and be what everybody else wanted me to be at my own expense.
Yeah.
Not going to do that again. And that's something we've got to bear in mind when we are elder and we meet someone. Is like, don't forget, do not lose yourself. Took you a long self to find yourself, do not lose yourself. You can get into the joy of it, but not at the cost of you.
And that's, that the romantic love, that first flush is just
Yes.
amazing, and you forget everything.
Yes.
All you are is going to
Euphoric.
be with that person,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it's great. I've experienced it.
Hmm.
That's okay. But I think there are other dimensions of that
Yeah.
experience that are also wonderful.
Yes.
And I think sooner or later, in every relationship, no matter how romantic, how over the moon you are, reality is going to come in.
Exactly.
He
You know,
has
for
that
me,
annoying habit, or
yeah,
he likes this food and he never
uh,
wants to be around it. I mean,
yeah,
it's going to happen,
yeah,
and
yeah.
the psychologists write about that all the time. And again, anybody that I'm talking to who is postmenopause is going to understand all that because that's
Yes.
our common ground.
It is. And even, your spouse who you absolutely love, as they get older, they develop some headaches that suddenly become very, very annoying. And it's like, they may be unaware of it. They may be, when you make them aware of it, kind of hold it in control, or maybe it's just part of who they are and you've got to live with it or walk away. One of the choices are there, but is that, we ourselves are not going to function the same way we did 10 years or 20 years ago, right? So there's a lot of still give and take of understanding where we're at.
Mhm.
And I remember when I first became divorced, I was in my late 40s. And I remember going somewhere and seeing this young man and thought, oh God, he's gorgeous. And then I realized it is the 20-year-old of me that's seeing him. I
Yeah.
hadn't caught up with being the 40, nearly 50-year-old of seeing, because that was the last time I was single. So
Mhm.
it's like catching up to where you're at now, who
Yeah.
you are now, with the kids, with the experience, with whatever traumas you've carried along with you, and seeing somebody from those eyes. And sometimes it does take an adjustment.
Yeah. And I do want to well, also, Sarah, I love to matchmake. Are you
Ooh.
interested? Yes.
Got anybody over here in Nanaimo,
Well,
we see?
where do you live?
I live on Vancouver Island in Nanaimo.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Well, I don't know anybody offhand, but when I meet people, I always say if they're single, would you be interested? And I
Mhm.
have made in my life two marriages.
Wonderful.
And so anyway, I just love to do that. So I was just thinking, sort
I've
of the
I've
opposite.
actually been the opposite. I've been the person that's been the disruptor of
Oh,
helping
really?
helping somebody see, and it's all
Oh,
unconscious. It's all
okay.
part of this marriage is sucking
Yes.
the life out of you and finding that time to sever it.
Mhm.
So I've always been that disruptor, whether it's been in business or this, that, not through choice, just through,
Well, you
helping
then
people realize things.
you help people see the truth
Yes,
to get to the
yes,
core of the truth.
yes,
Okay. Now, the other thing
exactly.
I do want to talk about is my favorite natural plant,
Mm.
cannabis.
Yes,
It's an aphrodisiac. And I do have, again, I talk about it in the book about for vaginal dryness and also it's for my skin. But I think that cannabis is also very important. Not everybody can do it, not everybody wants to. It's important if you have a source where it's okay.
yeah.
And there are, I live in the state of Washington.
Hmm.
We have very good medical and recreational cannabis, which is very high quality and is tested. So
Right.
I do, it is, by the way, is being used by a lot of people our age bracket for pain.
Yes, I use it for that.
Yes,
CBR
absolutely.
with THC, it's wonderful for
Right.
pain.
And it's also wonderful for as an aphrodisiac.
Yeah.
I do write about that, and I say, I encourage people, you go slow and go low. You don't go to a cannabis store and get help on that. But I have to tell you, it wasn't taking hormones because I never took any. So I don't
Hmm.
know if that would have affected my libido. I have no idea.
I didn't
I
take
do
either.
know that my mental attitude had a lot to change my life.
Yes.
And also the cannabis has been and will continue to be a huge contributor
Hmm.
for my own sexual pleasure, for my own masturbation,
Hmm.
because it makes you present.
Yes.
Everything else disappears and you are there. And
In tuned.
when I, for example, if I'm watching television and I take some liquid as cannabis in a liquid, and we're watching television, I'm not paying much attention maybe to the program, all of a sudden the colors will become sharper.
Hmm.
I'm listening to music. The
Hmm.
music will be more, I'll hear the music. It'll be more intense, may not be the right word. But I think you understand what
Clear
I'm saying.
clarity.
The smell, and when you have
Hmm.
incense, I will
Yeah.
smell the incense. I will eat food, and my taste buds
Hmm.
will be getting into that. So I
Everything is
really
heightened.
it heightens. That's the
Mm.
perfect word. Thank you. So I really, really want to, in fact, what I would hope is that it would be nationally approved, no longer as it'd be for everybody in America could
Hmm.
have cannabis, not the number of states that we have right now. Because I think there's so much potential of that for many things, but certainly for peace of mind, for inspiration, and for being
De-stressing, I mean, it's very hard to have
expressing.
any intimacy when
Exactly.
you're stressed out. So when you're just,
Exactly.
it's like the deep breath,
Exactly.
right? Relaxing,
Exactly.
everything about your body feels better. You can get into your senses. It kind of reminds me of the movie Annie Hall.
Yes. Yes,
And,
definitely.
you have to be our generation to remember that. But
Yes, that's right.
uh,
That's right.
but yeah, the whole thing about it is that, medically, I take it for that reasons, but we need the help. As we get older, aches and pains, things aren't as easy. I have a
Absolutely.
physical thing against me, which, can really cause my body to completely seize up. And you need something that helps relax the
Mhm.
body. And
Mhm.
you don't want to always go for pharmaceutical, which has the side effects or,
Mhm.
many other issues where, the cannabis is something that mentally, spiritually, physically, vibrationally, everything centers you down into a calm state. And from
Right.
that calm state, you are more aware of your senses. So
Right.
whether you are wanting to embrace your sexuality or whether you're just wanting to embrace your sensuality of life itself, it's a great state to be in and a great thing to be doing. And I agree, it should be. I mean, they push all these pharmaceutical drugs, and then you've got 10 minutes on the ad of how, take this for depression. It could cause suicide, which
Right.
never makes
And,
sense
and
to
the
me.
and the print at the bottom of the screen, which tells you all
Yes,
the things that could happen to you. Oh, but
exactly.
by the way, your blood pressure will go down. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
So,
Right.
that for me is criminal. And, something as natural and, there are plenty of natural products out there that are good for us. And we need to be understanding what those are. And, just a lot of people turn to alcohol to numb things or to stimulate, and that has its side reactions as well, where the cannabis doesn't. So whatever form you take it in, I highly recommend it. And yes, you have to look to which state you're in, and you might be
Oh,
limited on
you're
a
in
few states in
Canada.
the States. I'm in
It's in,
Canada.
you're in
Yep.
Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have it. In fact, I have to go and get some more because physically it helps me quite considerably. And that's if you're in pain, believe me, your libido doesn't want to even enter,
So,
right? So by reducing your pain, making your body feel better, making it feel more centered, you become more sensual, and then you're more apt to wanting to whether you are making love to yourself or having somebody else make love to you. But
right.
we need to tune into those senses, and you can't do that if you're in anxiety or in pain or, in fear. So you need something that can help you center, be present, and tune in to your own beautiful senses that are heightened. And
Mhm.
just the clarity that comes from it as well, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's a great product to have. I highly recommend it. But this book was needed to be written. It was needed to be talked about. We are seeing more people, um, the boomers, the Gen Xers, etc., more people over 50 than ever in the history of
That's
time.
right. That's right. Yeah.
And so, and more productive boomers,
Mm.
where so many people have started a new career in their 60s, 70s. I started this at 57. I hope to do it until I'm blind, deaf, and dumb, and I can't do it anymore. Because we need purpose. We need something in our lives that gets us up.
Mhm.
Nothing worse than somebody had a great career and then
Mhm.
they had nothing else to turn to. They retire and they feel like completely like they don't belong anymore. That's when you look for something that's going to stimulate you, that's going to give you joy. From that joy of purpose, you then find more joy within yourself and more open to receiving and embracing those possibilities of a sexual partner.
Yeah. And to talk about too about having a career or doing something worthwhile after
Mm.
you are theoretically
Yes.
retired. I mean, that's where when I read the concept of the encore career, and
Hmm.
some people do it for money, which
Yeah.
sad said that. And I really thought about it was because my husband is very dedicated for service.
Hmm.
And
Yes,
I
me
really
too.
thought about it that, can I be in service the way
Yes.
he has been, which drives him. And then I realized I can be,
Yes.
and
And
so
you are being with this book.
yeah.
You are
Well,
being with what you're
and I
talking
really
about.
felt that. And it was
Hmm.
and it's also kind of scary because maybe it'd be easier for me to go work in a shelter,
Mm.
or work in a food bank. And then I thought, well, I could do that. But it was really Larry again who pushed me and said, Carol, so many millions of women are having the
Yes.
same experience as you.
Yes.
And that I think if you write the book,
Hmm.
that it could really make a difference. And then finding Molly to
Yes.
help me with that. And I just think that, so I think getting in touch with our worth,
Yeah.
and particularly women, because they'll still let the men do it. But somehow
Mm.
we're post-menopause and we're not as worthy.
Hmm.
Think about that,
Yeah.
for the men, they can still go on at that age.
Yes.
And we don't necessarily, and necessarily think about maybe how their brain is working and what's going on with their self. Because they're a man, they must have some other characteristics that can keep them going.
Well,
Well, we
it's
have
called
that
Viagra
and a
very
whole
often
lot
too.
more. What?
Yeah. Viagra.
Yeah, well, but more also on the service intellectual level,
Hmm.
on the political level, on the
Hmm.
diplomatic level, okay? That senior women can make a tremendous contribution
Yes.
in that area. We didn't quite make it in this past election, but I'm not giving up yet.
No, the movement's just
Movement.
started.
The movement has
Yes.
really just started
Yes.
in
Yes.
quite a way. And so that again excites me because we are
Mm.
now showing the full capability of the power of women. And
I,
again,
I call it common sense love.
common sense. Yes,
Common
common.
sense love. We're very loving creatures. We love to share our love. Our love generator is constantly in flow, but we have this wonderful ability to have common sense, roll up our sleeves and get done what needs to get done lovingly. And that's what's needed right now. And this is the movement with this 262 book I'm a part of, with what
Mm.
I do with the podcast, with what you're doing with the book and empowering women to that there is life after menopause, right? All of this is about the more we empower the woman. And I said, we don't need the pitchfork, right? We
No.
don't need the weapons. Our
Mm.
weapon is common sense love. How do we continue on, whatever stage we are at in life? And how do we support one another and step up, bring up that love vibration, self-love, self-respect, love of each other, love of community, love of family, love of country? How do we do it? Because we can do it in the frame of love. We don't need to do it with weapons. Our weapon is love,
And we
right?
can also do it with men. That's the other
Yes,
thing. There's
yes,
so
mm,
many wonderful
yes.
men out there who
Who
really
want
feel
this,
the
who
same,
want this.
who
Yes,
want this. They
yes,
really have. And I think that's the other thing. I don't want this book to come across, or what I'm saying, down men. They too have suffered from stereotypes
yes.
and emphasizing qualities of being a man or having real manhood that are really bogus, you know?
But there's the other thing on it is by men reading this book, they have a
Ah,
better understanding of the woman
yes,
in their life, whether they're dating or whether they have a wife, right?
right,
It's like, I can't expect her to be that 20-year-old anymore. What is she going through?
right.
How could I empower her? How can we take this journey together? Can she understand this is what my obstacle is? This is what her obstacle is. How do we face these obstacles together? So this is to empower women, but it's to empower the men that love the women.
Yes. And also I'm hoping that my grandson is 24 and
Hmm.
he knows he knows what Mimi is doing. I'm called Mimi and Larry's called Poppy. And he shared it with his girlfriends.
Hmm. Yes.
And he is, I mean, that I want to also help the young men that
Hmm.
that let those kinds of men that we see and in the media who have these qualities that I talk about, um, to inspire them too, to aspire to that, because that's
Yes.
also going to empower them as well.
What I've
Um,
loved with this past election is how many men came forward
yes,
and said, I'm here to protect my daughter, my
yes,
wife, my sister. I'm here to stand up for morality.
that's
I
correct.
stand with the women. We need them. They're going to wants to save the world. No ego, no
No, you
insecurity,
don't.
just
No,
understanding what's needed, and I'm behind you. And that is going to help the movement grow even more. This is not about women against men. This
no.
is about women against a lack of morality, a lack of caring, kindness, understanding, but also the empowerment of women. It is our body. It is our choice at any age, at any stage.
And I want to add, make your own definition of love. What does
Yeah.
really love mean to you? I mean, it really means if somebody that I meet,
Hmm.
my husband's probably weakest point is maybe patience. Mine may be courage. Mine
Hmm.
may be integrity. Maybe I don't want to tell the truth all the time. I say,
Hmm.
so each of us have things that we have to learn.
Yes.
But what I believe I tried to list out is all the qualities of, again, being that I
Yes.
want to find in myself and
Hmm.
other people. And so I have that checklist and I apply it to everybody that I meet, always knowing where I ain't so good, or I talked about that and I didn't do it. Okay.
Right.
And I think that I want to see that expanded. I want to see,
Yes.
and also that more than anything, and also what again is sexual pleasure?
Hmm.
What do you think that will be? And it's not what you may see in a movie.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
what you may read in a romance novel.
Right.
So don't just read what I describe and Molly describe.
Experience
Other
it.
women.
Yes. Yes.
Talk about a woman who had this great, guy she met at a skiing, and that stayed in her mind about
Yeah.
what made that so wonderful.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just kissing.
Hmm.
In many of the senior homes, the couples will couple up, and some of them do have. I hate to say intercourse because that's not my
Yes.
definition of sex.
Right. Yes. They make love.
They make love. They have
Yes.
whatever it is, they are
Intimacy.
feeling it. They're feeling arousal
Mm,
and they're feeling erotic and they're feeling ecstatic. And so whatever it is, again, that's let's go back and have more of that.
yeah,
Let's go back and
exactly. And you know the more love out there on any level, the more we become the love, the more we share the love in whichever way,
mm,
emotionally, physically, spiritually, in whatever way, the better this world is going to be. Because, we're the ones who screwed it up, we're the ones to put it back together. But we can
mm,
only put it back together with certain frequencies of love in
right.
whichever way.
Mm,
And the more you are satisfied of love within you, physically, emotionally, and every other way, the more you are going to be that ripple effect of love out to everyone else. So you do owe it to yourself to find that love, to find that satisfaction, to find that fulfillment within yourself, because then you bring that peace of being out to everyone else. So, everybody's like, but yeah, but I need to do this for other people. No, no, you need to take care of
That's
yourself.
it's really hard though. I mean, it's really
Hmm.
hard, Sarah, because I think sometimes we confuse loving ourselves and being vain,
Yes. Oh,
or
yes.
being
You're so
arrogant,
vain.
or
Yes.
being really, I'm so smart, I'm so, and listen, I struggle with that, you know.
Yes.
I
Well,
think
our
I'm not,
generation, most certainly, who do you think you are? Right? That would be what we
exactly,
would get
but
all the
that's
time.
not,
Yes.
we haven't been educated enough or understand there's a difference. Because again, when we say we love ourselves, then we're vain and we're egotistical. But
Yes.
I'm not that person who's vain or
No.
egotistical, but I still don't really think I love myself. You
No.
know,
Self-love is so important. It's
and
it
it's
is it's
hard.
essential. It is.
Exactly.
It
It's
is.
really
And
hard.
it is essential we find that path. I still find myself, I'm not enough, I'm not enough. And it's like, no, in
Right.
this area you're not enough, but in this area you're abundant. So look to where your abundance lies. Don't There's a beautiful word I came across some years ago, and I love the word flawsome. We've
Oh,
all got
wonderful.
flaws, right? And
Ah,
you
awesome.
you take the Japanese bowl that
Yeah,
has cracks, they put it back together with gold. I say take your cracked vase and put yourself back together with self-love,
yeah,
right? And be flawsome. Our flaws are what define us. Our flaws have been our battles. They've been our strife. They've been our journey. But it's how do we hold ourselves together? Let's hold ourselves together. Let's put ourselves back together with love. And with that love that cannot be broken.
yeah. Great. Well said. Exactly. And interesting too, there's a lot of art that's done where there's a defect, a deliberate defect
Hmm.
becomes beautiful because
Yes.
you can't paint perfection, but you can paint something that feels like it's perfection or
Yes.
view it as perfection.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I'm looking out at the water because you live, Nanaimo is beautiful
I'm
where you
I'm a
live.
kilometer from the water. I'm
Oh, honey,
surrounded by green belt. I'm
I
surrounded
got
by
it.
trees.
I
I got
know.
a monkey
See, to
puzzle tree
me,
outside here.
nature is
Oh, heavenly.
it is perfect. You know,
Yes.
that one flower, that one plant, the
Mm.
tree. I hug trees. I love trees. And
Yes, me
everywhere I
too.
go, I hug trees. And
Trees,
so,
breeze, and water. My
yeah.
sanctuary.
Oh,
Yes.
there you go.
Yeah.
But I think that the self-love is hard.
Yes.
And that's again why I was so careful to write and spend a lot of time. What beingness constitutes
Yes.
love? And so when I
Yes.
feel like I'm kind of being a coward, or I haven't been in a great deal of integrity for something that I've done, I look over my list and go, I'm really a really kind person.
Yeah.
Never deliberately hurt anybody that anybody's ever said to me. Or I love humor and I laugh. I can
Yeah.
laugh, you know. So I try to find, okay, what do I love about myself? If it has nothing to do
Exactly.
with my hair, which I'm
Hmm.
losing, or my age, you know, or my brain, when I forget things, it just gets down to what just gives me joy, what makes me feel good, and then how the people that I love in my life, which I'm so grateful for, you know.
You are approaching your big 8-0. In itself is a gift. I believe age is a gift, right?
Mhm.
The saddest thing I think is when people get dementia or Alzheimer's because they're losing the gift of a lifetime of memories. But if you reach an older age, for me, oh, I don't celebrate birthdays anymore. I do. I just reached 70.
Um,
That's 7 decades I've managed to get through, right? And in 7 decades of experience, and who I am today is the person I love being because of those experiences. And I think the age is a gift. It's a wonderful gift to us. It's a wonderful gift to other people, right? And I think that more and more we let go of the things that, okay, I'm not that, right? And it's like it's living up to somebody else's expectation. That's your expectation. That's got nothing to do with me. And looking at what we are and who we are as a being, as you said, beingness, as a human being, what can I give? What can I contribute? What do I stand for? Can I look at myself in the mirror and say, I love you for who you are? That took me a lifetime to get here to do. I'm not going to have anyone take it away from me now. I'm not going to apologize for what I'm not anymore because that was always an expectation from somebody else of what I should be, not who I was. If you couldn't see me for who I am, that's your problem. And if you can't see me now, that's your choice. I'm not
and
going
there's
to waste
another
time.
aspect. I want people to have fun
Yes.
and also realize, because Larry's big on this, and I do write about it. I describe my play dates that I had, which are intentional and planned. Spontaneous sexual doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I'm
Right.
beyond spontaneous. I plan, okay. And we still have things that go wrong. I think that we also have to find the humor and the laugh
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the laugh about it. Don't be so serious.
I know.
And it's
Yes.
just like, and if you can't laugh, I don't want to be with somebody who's so serious all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And and again, we're aging, and there's a lot of funny stuff I could talk to you about aging, and so
Oh
does
God,
my
yes.
husband. I mean, the things
Yes.
that happen to us. The famous line they say in my family is, um, uh, Carol, let's see, Larry doesn't, I don't know, I have to get my husband, but basically, I forget things that never happened.
Mm.
It's what they
Mm-hmm.
say. I
Mm-hmm.
will be so sure that I will tell a story or an event.
Yes.
It actually never happened. But I'm
But it
so
probably did on a different dimension, just not
maybe
on
I
this
did. I
one.
don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure I didn't give it to you this way correctly because I have a brain that doesn't quite function the way it should function. But they make fun of me and they'll make fun of things that I do in my old age, some of the things
Yes.
that I'm
I
obsessed
get it
about.
all the time from my kids.
Yeah, and that's the
Rigging.
same thing.
Yeah.
They make fun. And that's part of the thing. I mean, accept our aging.
Yes.
This is part of the process.
Yeah.
And aren't we happy, you at 70 and I at almost 80, getting
Hmm.
closer, a month away, that we can laugh about that and
Yeah,
accept that.
exactly.
And it's just part, and not sweat over it, lose any energy. It
Right.
just let it go, let it go, let
Right.
it go.
I'm getting to the bedroom. Don't worry. Start
Yeah,
without me. I'll be there
yeah.
in a moment,
Or what did I have? Did I have breakfast this morning? I think I
Yeah.
did. What did I have? You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I don't sometimes it's complete. Or I will be very clear that this happened to me, and everybody will look at me and know, you were with me, Carol. That did not happen to you.
I know. And that is something very much the trick of memory does do. And very often I think that is a bleed of a dimensional memory. It's happened in a different dimension and it bleeds over into this one.
Oh,
So,
well, that's
yeah.
interesting because okay, I do believe in past lives.
Well, I believe in parallel lives too. So,
Parallel.
uh,
Oh, okay, parallel. I'll have to look into that. Maybe recommend some books for me.
I think that we're in many places at one time as different,
Uh-huh.
so and then that's the thing we look at ti as time as this linear thing. This is going to happen at this stage. This is going to happen at that
Mhm.
stage. And in the human realm, yes, to a point. But
Yes.
if we keep our spirit young, if we keep our spirit forever learning, if we keep our spirit forever in joy, if we keep our spirit forever giving and sharing, we keep our human body alive and for as long as it can be. Look at how many people are turning a century now and beyond. Right. And that is just miraculous. And it shows that we actually are meant to live beyond that. And we need to look at, obviously, not just what we feed ourselves in food, but what we feed ourselves in atmosphere, in environment, in
Yeah.
society, and be choosy as you get older. Don't be cantankerous with it. Be just choosy
Yeah.
of, no, this is where my joy is. Welcome to come in and share my joy. But
Mhm.
I'm not going to go out there and share joy amongst chaos that's just going to throw it away.
Mhm. Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
you can choose to have a great sex life, But you've got to find out what's stopping you from having it. So after menopause, whether you're young, my mum was, I think, 48 when she had menopause. I was just around 50, just after my 50th birthday, that I had menopause. And some people go later in life. It is knowing what's next. What do I need to do now?
Mm.
And taking the stigma away from it, the embarrassment away from it, ask the questions and be willing to try a few things out.
And it's also important, and it's early on in my book, there's research that shows that
Hmm.
sexual pleasure is helpful to us both physically and mentally. I
Yes,
mean, data, hard
yes,
data shows that
yes,
people who engage in sexual relations, and it's positive,
yes.
will
So
have
releasing endorphins, it's
they'll
really good for
they'll
us.
yeah, that there and that the list is there. I mean,
Yes,
I don't even have to even put the references for it because they're all over the place.
right.
That
Yeah,
physical and emotional well-being has been documented with people who have sexual pleasure.
yeah,
And so why deny ourselves? And
you're
again,
right.
I don't care if it's just rubbing yourself, going for a massage.
Yes.
Massage
A
tech is
massage is very essential.
wonderful.
Yes, yes,
Exactly. And so again, maybe you don't have a partner, but get a massage therapist.
yeah,
Treat yourself to a massage.
yeah,
Feel what it's like to have somebody, rubbing your skin, and
mhm,
you'll get sensual pleasure.
yeah,
All that's going to enhance your life.
yeah,
So I think it's important to say there are medical reasons and, about our well-being that say to us, this is a gift that we have. This is a part
hmm,
our body enables us to have, and we
yeah,
should take advantage of it. And it doesn't stop for women
right.
after menopause.
No, no, it doesn't. So there's still pleasure to be had. Get your mindset into that.
Right.
No matter what the age, whether it's self-pleasure or whether you find somebody to have pleasure with, you want to be ready. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything to be sexually ready to actually have a partner, or please yourself, whatever it is, but know
Please.
what it is you need to do. What is
Right.
it you need to do? This is just another challenge in our lives. We faced all the challenges along the way. Okay, all right, now menopause. What do I need to know about menopause, and how do I, make sure I don't lose my libido or my sexual prowess, or my enthusiasm? All right. My sensuality, how do I keep it alive? And there's so many aspects to it. And if we don't know what to do, we don't apply, we're going to lose it. The old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it. Right. So which is really, now the book hasn't come out yet, right? But there is a site that people can go to which will announce the book coming out when it's ready, because you're just waiting on something.
I
And so,
have a landing page for my new website, and it's drcarolrems.com. And next week, I will have information about how to contact me and more information about when the book will actually be published. Okay?
yes, so it's Dr. Carol
No,
Remz.
it's at drcarolrems.com.
Yeah, Remz is REMZ.com, folks. So
REMZ.
REMZ. Yes,
Z.
Z. I say Z, British Z.
Okay, okay. REMZ. That's right. Okay.
And
drcarolrems.com.
.com, and of course you'll have a Facebook page coming up and everything.
We'll
And
have a social media again. I got this interview kind of early in the process, and it was really wonderful. But we will definitely have social media, and that's in the works right now.
and all
And
you have to do is put in Carol Remz, REMZ or Z, under
that will
selfdiscoverywisdom.com,
yeah.
and her whole show page will come up, and all of her updates will be on there as well.
In
All
time,
of the
I'm going to be,
information.
at least there'll be that landing page with contact information for me about how
Yes.
to directly contact me,
Yeah.
and with more
And
information about when the book will be available for pre-order, and then the publication date has been set for next year.
wonderful.
But the pre-order
I
is
always
usually
say, books make a wonderful gift. So if you've got girlfriends that are going through menopause, what a great gift to give them. Right. I'm very much about having podcast parties where you will listen to the podcast and share your different perspectives afterwards and start talking about it, take away the about it, and like, hey, come on. It's life. And when you're pregnant, you talk to other people about their pregnancy and you learn about this. When you're going through a divorce, you talk to other people about going through a divorce. We talk to people about things that are going through it or have gone through it because we want to learn, right? And that's why are we not talking about menopause? So talk about menopause, find out what it is you need to do, get into the right mindset, and just go and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you. That's right.
That's the bottom line of it. You ain't over yet. And as I
Yes.
said, the youngest person I've interviewed was 10 with her own book, and then the oldest was 92 with her own TV show and took a lover at 90. So,
Wow.
it ain't over until it's over. If you can still get on the bike, ride it. But just, you may have to adjust how you ride the bike. Just find what that adjustment is. So life is to be enjoyed right to the very end. It doesn't cut off when now you're a senior, you're meant to go and isolate yourself and swing on the bench seat. No, it's a different form of enjoyment to have now. And we do it in a different way with a different mindset, but we can still get out there and enjoy life in all aspects of it, sexually, spiritually,
And it's also
in
to
every other way.
encourage the women because menopause right now is perimenopause is the discussion in the zeitgeist. I mean,
Yeah.
it is what the famous Michelle Obama, Oprah,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
Halle Berry,
Yeah.
um, and the gynecologist is talking about it. They're going on talk shows. So there's a very much more attention now, which I think is
Yes.
critical to going through in perimenopause, women going through that. But what I'm hoping for, I'm giving you the leg up on what
Yes.
happens after you are
Yes.
now in menopause. You haven't had a period for 12 months or a year. Now you went through all this. Guess
Mm-hmm.
what, ladies? It's not the end, honey.
No.
It's just the beginning in a whole new way.
Yeah.
And that's
Just
why
an
I'm
adjustment.
excited because
Mm.
they came out and made this newsworthy. When I started this book, it wasn't discussed. And all of
Yes.
a sudden, only in the last year, maybe year and a half, all of a sudden, it's on national television. And the famous women that we see on stage or Oprah,
Mm.
Michelle Obama are talking about their experience through menopause. So,
Yes.
wow, what an opportunity. And now we're all coming together, those of us, the same women, and
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, it's not over. This is another world that's open to you, And I'm just one person. I know I'm barely, I lie. I say I'm 5 feet, but I'm not. I think I'm 4'11" now because I'm shrinking.
Yes,
Okay.
we shrink. There's
Yeah,
another
actually
thing
that
that
happened
happens.
too. So if I could do it, you know,
Mhm.
then you can too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's
And the
what I
whole thing
really
about
want
this
to come
book is
across.
sharing the tips and sharing the tools. It's again, my motto for these shows are listen, learn, and apply. You don't know if it works for you or not unless you apply. And whether there's one thing or a dozen things you've got from it, the book and the podcast, it's just apply because first thing is the mindset. Get the mindset changed. And the
Right.
beautiful thing about having people like Halle Berry and Oprah and Michelle Obama is in the past, women of their age were not even seen on TV or in any platforms, never mind talking about these subjects. It was like you reached a certain age and you played grandma on the TV show and you were no longer a woman. But now we're seeing these women so much still in their femininity. Look at Halle Berry. I mean, sexy as hell,
Well, and
right?
and Samantha Bee did this
Hmm.
amazing one act woman show that she
Yes,
I didn't get a chance to see it, Ned, because it's going to be coming on a video now. You know how vibrant she is and how
yes.
funny she is and how out
Hmm.
there she is. Well, she did this one woman show, putting some humor
Yeah,
to being in perimenopause. So again, this is the other, which is really good. I think it's wonderful when they come through. So if these kinds of women are coming and talking about
yeah,
that, they're going to have the same experience when they're finished.
right.
And so there is this energy that's happening now, and I'm so grateful that it's happening at this time.
Yes.
I think it's wonderful.
Despite what politically is going on out there, the sisterhood is even more important.
More important.
The men that support women, even more important. There
Mhm.
is a movement in place, and that movement, as I said, is common sense love. You got to love yourself to know that you share that love with others. And it's just, despite whatever is going on the outside, just keep that movement going. Empower each other
Yes.
because that's where the healing is and that's where the solution is. So just keep empowering each other. So once again, her site is Dr. Carol, Carol REMZ or Z.com, and all of her information will be on there as well as it's on our site as well. And this is her first show and the book is not quite out there yet, but that's okay. We've piqued your interest. So, reach out to her. Her email will be on there, or contact will be on there to start the conversation, to follow when it's going to happen, because this is a book you want to read. This is a book you want to share. This is a book you want to give to your friends that are going through it. There is life after menopause, ladies. There is. So.
Mary, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm just so grateful. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you for taking this journey. And this is what I love, redirects in life, where it doesn't, you're approaching 80, but this isn't like, oh, I just rest on my laurels now and take up knitting. No, it's like, no, hang on. This is important. I need to share this. So thank you for not letting your age get in your way and you deciding to put this out and say, no, this is important and it needs to be known and I need to share it. So thank you very much for doing that.
Okay, my dear. Thank you.
So remember, it doesn't matter how old you are, you've still got something to share, something to give, something to do, and something to experience. So whether you're pre or past menopause, there's still life to be experienced, still love to be experienced, still physicality to be experienced. Do not hold yourself back. Just know what you need to do in order to enable yourself to do it. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.